As far as indie games go, I can firmly say that Gunpoint has always been one of my favorites, having played it relatively closely to when it first came out in 2013. Developed by Tom Francis, this stealth platformer seats the player into the role of Richard Conway, a freelance private investigator who happens to be witness to a hit job in an office building across the street from his apartment. From there, your phone starts getting hit up by nearly everyone that might have even a vague interest in the situation, and you find yourself swiping data and breaking into buildings left and right as you unravel the mystery of how this all happened and who's pulling the strings. Now, what originally drew me to this game was the presentation. More on that in a moment, but what cemented it as a title that I love, to my own surprise, was the gameplay. This came as a surprise because there are two key aspects to the level-based gameplay found in Gunpoint: the expected duck and hide elements found in most any stealth game, and far more prominently, the puzzles that make up every level. I say this because I am someone that, to this day, does not have much experience with stealth games and typically does not enjoy games where puzzles are really the main mechanic. Like, I enjoy puzzles, but I find that I enjoy them more as supplemental pieces to the entire experience as opposed to the main focus. In this case, basically every level is a puzzle. You've got to look about the rooms to see where enemies and objectives are in order to figure out how to best reach your goal. To do that, you enter into something called crosslink mode, wherein you can rewire light switches, cameras, elevator panels, doors, and basically anything else that you can find in the level to or from each other in order to manipulate the environment. Turning the lights out makes guards panic and move to turn them back on. Disconnecting alarms from whatever they're linked to is usually a pretty good idea, and oftentimes you'll have to find creative ways to get doors open. There are usually a number of different circuit boxes that must be flipped before you can actually make these changes. It's all encompassing of every level, and that there are multiple ways that you can get through each mission, completing optional objectives along the way if you so choose, keeps it fresh and makes it feel like your own thought process with regard to what you see is actually worth something. You're looking for a solution to the level, not the only solution, if that makes sense, and you're free to be as direct or freewheeling in your choices as you desire. Oh, and whenever you like, you can leap through the air thanks to your super jumping pants, letting you tackle guards and punch them to your heart's content. Yes, that is a sentence I just said. One punch gets the job done to knock them out and remove the threat, but don't worry, the game is happy to keep track for you if you decide to really lay a beat down. You can also unlock some extra goodies that can help to get you through the levels with payments you receive for each job you undertake and successfully complete. It's sleek, easy to understand, and more than enough for the game's intentions. But as I said, the meat of this game lies in its presentation. This feels weird to say, but I can't think of any other way to describe it besides as perfectly indie. Obviously, as you can tell, you've got some fantastic pixel work for the graphics. I am particularly fond of the headshots that each character receives during the messaging sequences for whatever reason. The animations are crisp, and there's enough color variation and overall depth present that there's zero issue in terms of seeing what you need to in each level. Thematically, it's got a bit of everything. It takes place in a vaguely futuristic world with a few broad strokes of authoritarianism and cronyism. By that I mean leaping through windows with elastic pants is completely fine, but firearms have been outlawed for quite some time, which only makes it all the more ironic that most of your employers are associated with weapons manufacturers. Unsurprisingly, Conway's close proximity to the hit that kicks off the narrative leaves him as a prime suspect, and as he untangles the web that such a stroke of luck has found him caught in, you're treated to both humor and seriousness. As expected, a game with a primary mechanic of leaping through the air to pummel guards, again, I can't believe I just said that, tends to lean more towards the former, but there is one moment in particular where it slams the accelerator on the latter. And likely due to the episodic format of everything, they both have their place in the game's tone. I love the direction that the game takes with its soundtrack. Beyond the fact that it's good, which it most certainly is, it utilizes atmospheric smooth jazz that you would expect from a noir-tinged game such as this, but then weaves in more techno-inspired pieces that fit perfectly with the crosslink mechanics. The two styles shake hands phenomenally, and composers John Robert Matz, Ryan Ike, and Francisco Cerda deserve massive kudos for the job they do here. Matz and Cerda handle the jazz while Ike provides the techno, and it's so clear that they all knew their role and performed them flawlessly. Never do the tracks step over each other or the game, and that is no small feat. Pixel graphics, futuristic settings, and impossibly outstanding music. If this isn't a post-2010 indie game, then I don't know what is. I bring all of this up because I want to illustrate that Gunpoint is not made an indie game because of these tried and true elements that we've become accustomed to. No, it's made an indie game because Tom Francis, the man I mentioned earlier, spent a total of $30 in production costs and developed it entirely on his own. Yeah, call me jaded, but I think we've come to seriously misconstrue what it means for a game to be considered, quote, indie. More and more over the past few years, it's felt more like we've attached the moniker to games that fulfill a certain set of physical criteria, usually pertaining to the graphic style or gameplay. I'm not saying that doesn't make sense. Like anything else, certain tendencies and themes have become pervasive throughout a wide spread of indie games over the past decade and a half. Yes, a lot of them utilize pixel graphics, for instance. RNG or roguelike based games are also pretty popular. For as true as that all might be, a game having those qualities doesn't actually make it an indie game. The misconception that it does is how you wind up with something like Dave the Diver, with its relaxed gameplay and pixel graphics, which was developed by a subsidiary of Nexon, just one of the biggest game publishers in the world, being nominated for an Indie Award category back in 2023. The fact that certain people try to defend that nomination by trying to be all introspective, well, what actually is an indie game anyway, only makes that entire situation funnier in hindsight. I don't know, man, indie games might not have a concrete definition, but I'm pretty sure having an owner with billions in collective revenue over the past few decades is pretty disqualifying. And I'm not saying that games have to be solo developed like Gunpoint was to be considered indie. There's definitely room for some interpretation in the term, but I will proclaim that Gunpoint to this day has to be one of the premier examples of the pinnacle of indie game success. What I love most about indie games and why I strive to talk about them whenever I get the chance is what they often do for those that put the blood, sweat, and tears into making them. Game development is a long, grueling, and thankless task, and those willing to endure it deserve all the benefits of their labor, only doubly so for those that do so without official backing or employment. Tom Francis, as he went about making Gunpoint, was a staff writer for the UK version of PC Gamer, and not only did he make that staggering $30 development fee back within a whole minute of launching pre-orders for Gunpoint, it wasn't long after that he was able to quit his job and go full-time in the industry. Now working under the name of Suspicious Developments, they've since gone on to release two other titles, being Heat Signature in 2017 and Tactical Breach Wizards in 2024. And it's not just that the success has allowed Francis to go on and expand his works, it's that Gunpoint is awesome. It received a resounding reception upon its release, one which was wholly deserved, and it is wild to me that it hasn't been ported to other systems or consoles beyond PC. Hell, there aren't even that many videos about it on this very website. Seriously, go look it up. You'll find a few noteworthy ones, including some from Francis himself, and then a bunch of Drac, like a Let's Play by some dude named Fandrax from too many years ago. With the level editor that it comes packaged with, it blows my mind that this game seemingly never became an indie mainstay in the public consciousness. No, it's not the biggest, flashiest, or longest game in its world, but it's so perfectly everything that gamers seemingly want out of the indie genre with regards to the way it's built and presented. That it exemplifies the payoffs that should leave us all thrilled to support indie titles only makes it even better.